Let's be real, have you ever tried to compare a service from AWS to its counterpart in Azure and just felt completely lost? It's like they're speaking different languages. Well, you are definitely not alone. So today we're going to do a little investigating. We're going to use a cloud cheat sheet to figure out one specific matchup: AWS Global Accelerator versus Azure Front Door. Let's see what we can find out.
I mean, this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It's a real problem. The naming is different, the features are a little different. It can feel like you're trying to compare apples and, I don't know, spaceships. So our goal with this explainer is to cut right through that confusion.
All right, so here's our game plan. We'll start by looking at this whole cloud service maze. Then we'll grab our guide, the cheat sheet, to help us navigate the jargon. We'll get to the main event, the face-off between our two services, uncover a pretty surprising twist, and then decode what it all means. And finally, we'll talk about the big takeaway that goes way beyond just this one cheat sheet.
Okay, first things first. Let's just appreciate the scale of what we're dealing with. It's not just two services in a vacuum. It's more like trying to find two specific trees in a massive, sprawling forest. The sheer size of it all is the first big hurdle. Just take a look at this. You've got AWS, you've got Azure, Google Cloud, and each of them has, over 100 different services? It's a lot. You've got compute, storage, databases, machine learning, networking, you name it. Honestly, just keeping up with one of these providers can feel like a full-time job, let alone trying to be an expert on all of them. This is exactly why a simple one-to-one comparison is so tricky right from the start.
So how in the world are we supposed to navigate all this without getting totally lost? Well, that's where our key tool comes into play, the humble cheat sheet. Think of it as our translator, our Rosetta Stone for the world of cloud services.
So what is a cheat sheet in this case? It's really just a quick reference guide. It's designed to look past the brand names and focus on the function, what a service actually does. Then it tells you what each of the big cloud providers calls their version of that thing. It's the perfect starting point for our investigation.
Okay, time to put our cheat sheet to the test. Let's say you and I need a way to make our global application faster. We want to cut down latency for all of our users, no matter where they are in the world. We need a network accelerator. So, what does the cheat sheet say?
And here we go. We got an answer. Under the Network Accelerator category, the cheat sheet says, for AWS, you use AWS Global Accelerator, and for Azure, you use Azure Front Door Premium. Okay, seems pretty straightforward. They look like they're direct equivalents. Case closed, right?
Well, not so fast. If there's one thing I've learned about cloud services, is that the first easy answer is almost never the full story. As we look a little closer at the rest of this cheat sheet, a tiny little clue pops up, and it changes everything.
Which leads us to the critical question. Are we really seeing the whole picture here? Is Azure Front Door Premium just a network accelerator?
And there it is. That's our clue. Check it out, just a few rows up in the same table under the Content Delivery Network or CDN category. For AWS, we see Amazon CloudFront, but for Azure, we see Azure Front Door again. It's the same brand name listed for two totally different functions. Now that is the mystery we need to solve.
Now this dual identity thing, it's not a mistake on the chart. It's actually the key that unlocks the whole puzzle. It shows us a really fundamental difference in how AWS and Azure think about and structure these services. Just by reading this table carefully, we can start to decode their entire strategy here.
Okay, let's break this down. On the AWS side of things, they treat these as two very separate specialized tools. You have Global Accelerator, which works at what's called Layer 4. Think of it as optimizing the raw network path for your traffic. It gives you static IPs, and it's great for things like gaming or IoT. Then you have CloudFront, a totally separate service. That's a classic CDN that works at Layer 7, the application layer, caching your website's content close to users. Two distinct tools for two distinct jobs. Now, Azure's philosophy is different. Azure Front Door is more of a single, bundled product family that does its work at Layer 7. The standard tier is their modern CDN. But if you upgrade to the premium tier, it adds those network acceleration features right in. So it essentially bundles the functions of what would be CloudFront and Global Accelerator into one integrated service. The takeaway? With AWS, you pick the specific tool you need. With Azure, you get a more all-in-one package.
So, this whole investigation is a perfect example of the real lesson here. This isn't just about Front Door versus Global Accelerator, it's about learning how to approach any comparison between cloud services.
And hey, the source material says it best right here. A cheat sheet is like a map. It's fantastic for getting you pointed in the right direction, but it is not the territory itself. You still got to do your homework. You have to dig into the features, and you need to understand the different ways these services are actually built.
So, the big takeaway is really about how to think like a cloud detective. Use these cheat sheets as your starting point for sure, but always be on the lookout for clues, those little oddities like a service showing up twice. That's your signal that there's something more going on and it's time to dig deeper. Your first look should always lead to more questions to make sure the service is really the right fit for what you need.
And that leaves us with a final question to think about. Take a look at your own tech stack. Are there any services you've always just assumed were direct one-to-one equivalents across different clouds? Because after what we've seen today, it might be worth giving them a second look. You might be really surprised at what you find.